Alright, what's going on everybody? This is Patty with FC.explained. So today's video, I'm going to be explaining why elite players always seem to have an open pass, right? So a lot of the time, the students that I coach, it really seems to them that when they get the ball, especially in their own half, specifically in the corners, they just seem like they're trapped, right? They have no way to build up. They have no way to just beat lines in terms of their opponent's offensive, midfield, and defensive lines, right? And they seem to just really struggle with keeping the ball. So today's video, I'm going to be just explaining certain things that I do and little principles that I hold to make sure that my opponent really has to press me well to win the ball back in my own half. So without further ado, I'll get straight into the tactics board review. All right, so the first principle that I want to explain is use left stick dribbling. Okay, we do not want to be sprinting in our own half. Okay, so a lot of the time when I coach students, I see them really trying to just sprint past players in their own half. And the reason we don't want to do this is because you don't maintain good control of the ball, right? If you have someone that is pressing you with the ball and your touches are going out here or out here, right? You're exposing the ball with your touch. It's really easy for your opponent to either guess or even just react to your touch and then bruiser you out of the way, right? We know how OP bruiser is. We know how really just difficult it is to not shield or how to shield the ball when someone's bruising us, especially someone with bruiser plus. And at this time of the year, pretty much every single card has bruiser plus, bruiser base, right? All the meta defensive play styles, even the strikers. I've seen strikers like 95 defending. So it's really important that we just take care of the ball and we don't sprint, right? So I have a clip of me just left sticking and building up, right? So I'll jump to that and then we'll go back to the tactics board. All right, so I get the ball here, right? So I've won the ball in my own half. He's kicked it out. And look, all I'm doing, I'm just looking for the easy pass, right? I'm just trying to find the next person that's open. I trigger Griezmann just to buy me space. Trigger Bale as a secondary because he's too busy tracking Griezmann. Play it in, and we score, right? So pretty simple goal. Not too much to pick apart here, but look, I'm not trying to beat him, right? I'm taking what he gives me, right? He's giving me this space in here. I'm going to drive into it or at the very least pass into it, okay? So when we have this type of space, right? The first thing I'm doing, I'm getting it to Eusebio. I already know I'm going to send Griezmann on a run because I need him to just track somebody. I don't really have many options if I give it to Eusebio right now. So I need to trigger Griezmann as this ball travels. So that way he has someone to just keep an eye on, right? I'm making him focus on two things at once, the ball carrier and the run. Like I said in previous attacking videos, I'm trying to make him decide. I want him to make a very definite decision whether to track the run or cover me, right? So if I play the clip again, as we can see, look, I trigger Griezmann. He's tracking the run, tracks the run, right? So he was too busy tracking this run, so he's not tracking this guy, and Bale's gotten in front. So I trigger Bale, right? I use an L1 trigger. I trigger Bale because now there's this huge gap because he hasn't brought this guy back. This guy's out of position, right? So I'm basically forcing this 2v1, but I trigger them separately. So I get him out of position first with the first trigger. So then I have space with the second trigger to get Bale wide open, right? So, like I said, we played again. I play Bale through. Now it's a 2v1, easy sweat. We get the goal. So, pretty simple. Just, I guess, to summarize it would just to be take what your opponent gives you, right? If your opponent's pressing you, do a little left stick dribbling, shimmy him, make him commit, and then just pass, make the easy pass backwards. You don't need to always go forwards either. So I'll go back to the tactics board and we'll go over principle number 2. All right, so the second principle I want to talk about is I mentioned it a little bit in that first clip. Play the easy pass. A lot of the time, I see people, especially students that I'm coaching in divisions 4 or 5, they just try to make these meta through balls work, right? Like I talk about triggering this first time for triggering the winger for a first time through ball, right? You don't need to do that every time you get the ball. I recommend you trigger every time, right? You should be triggering players every time, but you don't need to actually use the trigger, right? We don't want to just trigger players for the sake of triggering players. You want to have a purpose with it, right? So like I said, when I first start a game, if I trigger a player, I want to see if he can track it. I want to see if my opponent has the visual and defensive awareness to know, oh, he just triggered his winger. I'm going to track it because now I know I can use that to my advantage to give me space, right? But like I said, if he knows to track runs, you can use that to your advantage and get space. But a lot of the time, people like to just pass around, right? We're not using triggers. We're not doing anything useful, right? We're just trying to sprint past him. We're trying to just do stupid decisions that we normally wouldn't do because we just feel under pressure, right? We want to have as much composure as we can. And most of the time, the simplest pass is just backwards, right? If you play someone, right? So let's say the right back plays the CDM, the right CDM. If he's getting pinched, send it back. And then we can drag these guys out, maybe do a little bit of left stick dribbling, and then split them again, and now you have a bunch of space. We want to hold the ball and have composure because we're going to drive our opponents to pressure, which inherently leaves a space behind, right? We want him to drag out players so he creates gaps behind the players that he drags out, right? It's very simple. The biggest example, like I said, you drag out the center back, there's a space behind for the center back. The same thing applies when building up in our own half. So the biggest principle, like I said, just we want to play the simple passes, right? So I'll jump to another clip that demonstrates this a little bit, and then we'll go to the third tip. All right, so I get the ball again. Look, I'm building up. Right back, find the CDM, play the easy pass, right? Nothing's on. Play him again, trigger. So the big thing I want with this clip, right? The biggest thing, and it's like, oh, how did you even have that pass, right? That final pass. Let's watch this again, okay? Look, I get the ball to Job. Keep an eye on Job this whole play. Look, I trigger him all the way through. He has this entire, pretty much half of my half of my half, and then the entirety of the opponent's half to just start running, right? To be honest, I don't know if he's lengthy or not, but it doesn't really matter here because look, I trigger him so early. I get the ball, I trigger him right away, right? And look, I'm trying to not play him, so I have him open, right? Eusebio checks in, play him through. So using the triggers, right? I create space by just having someone run in behind. I have an attacking option that comes from seemingly nowhere just because I triggered him so early, right? So it's really simple that if we just use triggers, we can create space, which inherently will create us more passing options. So that's it for this clip. Hopefully that made sense. Yeah, we can just go to the third clip now. All right, so this is the last clip, and this goes over the tip that I want to really mention is just calling players short. If you realize, especially depending on what your tactics are, obviously I uploaded my tactics video the other day. I use short passing and sometimes balance depending on if, I'm playing well or playing bad, right? So using R1 is one of the biggest principles. I would say if you don't learn anything else from this video and you want to keep the ball, use R1. It calls players short. So if you press R1 and aim it like you would a L1 trigger, instead of the player running away from you, the player checks in. A lot of the time, if you don't have options, just use R1. Have them check in, right? If you realize, oh, I don't have a passing option, R1. Literally just spam it, right? Aim at every player, call them short, call them short. Just get them closer to you so then now your opponent can either press you or now he has more passing lanes to think about marking, right? So in this clip, look. When the ball back, right away, simple. Look, I see Griezmann's running away from me, right? Or Bale, sorry. I see Bale is running away from me. Watch, I click R1, so he just stops. It kills his momentum. So I have this passing option. And then I do my signature, first time through ball up. And then just a little bit of analog sprint, gets me open, and we bag it with Ginola. So, again, seemingly, right? If I don't call Bale short here, his momentum, like he's still facing Marcelo, right? And I don't want him facing Marcelo because look, he switched to Marcelo. If Bale doesn't create this little gap right here from me pressing R1, he can just step with Marcelo and I most likely just lose the ball. I don't really keep it. So that's the biggest thing. I got this little gap to play this pass in because I pressed R1 and I called Bale short. So that's the biggest thing. So if we go over the principles today, we have don't sprint in your own half, just left stick, play the easy pass, don't play a pass that isn't fully guaranteed to work, right? There's no point in gambling unless you're breaking lines. And then use R1. Call players short. If you don't have options, create your own options by using R1. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it. If this video helped you, make sure to subscribe because I upload new FC26 guides every week to help you guys reach Elite Division. If you guys want personalized help, make sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description. You guys will get a free one-on-one coaching session with me personally for the first 20 members. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.